Let's now talk about some principles of relevance theory. Relevance theory, as proposed by Wilson and Sperber, revolves around two major principles. One is cognitive principle and the other one is communicative principle. We'll talk about a cognitive principle first. Cognitive principle informs us that any external stimuli or internal representation could provide an input for our talk, or could provide an input to cognitive process, which may be relevant to an individual at a certain time during their conversation. So it could be an external stimuli or some internal representation which may serve as an input to provide some incentive in a talk, which may be relevant to the speaker or hearer. Utterances do raise expectations of speaker and the hearer, or the speakers in a talk, not because speakers have to follow a certain cooperative principle as proposed by Grice. Rather, according to this theory, the utterances raise expectations of the speakers because they have a certain connection of relevance, and humans struggle for finding relevance. They try to find relevance in order to make their communication more meaningful. In this way, we can say that relevance is a basic feature of a human conversation, human communication, which comes from human cognition, because humans, when they do interact with each other, share their thoughts, they try to find some relevance in their cognitive processes. Human cognition tend to be geared to the maximization of this relevance. So as much the relevance is, the greater would be the meaningfulness of a certain communication. When an input is relevant, that's very important question in this regard. An input, it may be a gaze, an utterance, or a kind of sound or a memory, is relevant only when it connects with background information of the speakers or of a certain speaker which is being addressed to yield conclusions that matter to him. So if he is able to draw certain conclusions which have meaning for him or herself, or which can help him to understand the overall communication, that what we call a relevant input. When its processing in a context of available assumption yields a positive psychological or positive cognitive effect. In this way, when a speaker or hearer finds a relevant input, he is able to, or that relevant input generates a kind of positive cognitive effect on the speaker or hearer. A positive cognitive effect is a worthwhile difference to the individual's representation of the world, which we may say as a true conclusion. A true conclusion always is a result of some kind of relevant input, and it yields a positive effect on the speaker and listener, or the people involved in a conversation. A false conclusion may also have a cognitive effect, but that would not be a positive one. The most important type of cognitive effect is some contextual implication. It's a conclusion which is deducible from the context and input together, and not from each of them in isolation. Rather, when both context and input lead us to a certain conclusion, that may be seen as a positive negative effect. Other types of cognitive effect may be of strengthening certain argument, revision of the argument, or abandonment of some available assumption based on the contextual data or information. Communicative principle of relevance is the one which is more relevant to Grice theories, as it aims to explain some of the Grice theories of meaning as speakers' intentions. We keep on producing stimulus which gain other people's attention and thus lay ground for communication. And in this regard, we find some role of speaker's intention coming in. The tendency to maximize relevance makes it possible to predict and manipulate the mental states of others. And this is how we gather or how we understand relevance in this theory. Knowing your tendency to pick out the most relevant inputs. In this regard, we can see an example. For example, if I put a glass, an empty glass in your line of vision, that might mean, or I might intend by doing that you understand that I need more water. So in this way, our actions do create a relevance, an input which we do create a relevance between what we do, or what we think, and what is available, or what is contextual basis of it. There are certain ostensive inferential communication which lie in the reasons that will shortly become apparent. So we have certain reasons for our actions or for our sayings which may become apparent in the course of communication. Understanding an utterance is a matter of inferring the speaker's informative intentions as well as communicative intentions. What kind of information the speaker wants us to know, and by doing that, what he intends us to communicate, what kind of hidden message is down there in his or her communication. So this could possibly be this combination of intentions make us understand the overall principle of communication in relevance theory.